Hey guys, welcome to my latest movie vlog and happy Mother's Day if anyone's a mother out there. And to celebrate the holiday, I figured I would go over my top 10 worst movie mothers of all time. Hopefully, by the end of this list, you guys will appreciate your own mothers a little bit more because these ones are not so great. So before I get into the list proper, the proper top 10, I figured I'd start with an honorable mention because in the actual top 10 list, I did not want to include documentaries, like actual people that existed, but I did want to have an honorable mention for one documentary because of just how horrible this mother is. My honorable mention is Dr. Shirley Turner from Dear Zachary. Now, if you have not seen Dear Zachary, I would highly recommend you do not read about Shirley Turner or the movie before you go and watch it. This movie I have recommended probably more than any other movie I've ever seen. But basically, what makes her a pretty terrible mother is that she murdered her ex boyfriend, Andrew Bagby, and then she fled to Canada, where whoops, she's actually pregnant with his baby. And when she gives birth to Zachary, pretty much the movie shows Andrew's parents traveling to Canada and getting involved in this really long, drawn out court battle over custody over little Zachary. And Dr. Turner is just such a psychotic maniac and she's very manipulative. It is a very sad, harrowing story that is a must watch, in my opinion, although you might want to bring some tissues along because it is a sad movie. All right, so let's start with the list. Number 10, here we go. Number 10 of on the worst movie mothers of all time list is Zinnia Wormwood from the movie Matilda, based on the Roald Dahl book. Zinnia is a pretty terrible mother because she is very neglectful towards little Matilda. She doesn't appreciate the fact that her daughter is a little genius, and she encourages her husband's pretty terrible behavior, where he rips up books in front of her, doesn't encourage education at all. She's low on the list because at the end she does express some regret when she's signing off on some adoption papers for Matilda to be adopted, but at the same time, she wouldn't need to be adopted if she was a good mother. So sorry, Miss Wormwood, but you are one of the worst mothers ever in the movies. Number 9 is Vera Cosgrove from Dead Alive. Now, this is actually the movie that I wrote my college acceptance paper about. It's one of those formative movies that inspired me to try to go to film school. It was directed by Peter Jackson, who would eventually go on to make the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But before he would make that fantasy epic, he made these sort of very low budget but super gory horror films, such as Dead Alive, that I loved. The mother in it is indeed one of the worst movie mothers ever. She is very controlling over her son's life, and she's sort of involved. She doesn't want him to get too attached in his relationships. Basically, at one point, she crashes his date at the zoo with this girl he's interested in, and she gets bitten by the Sumerian rat monkey there. And then she is patient zero for the zombie outbreak. And there's one scene in the movie at a dinner table where she's slowly sort of melting. Her body is like transforming into the zombie. And it is one of the most disgusting scenes I've ever seen in my life. And I love it. So I would highly recommend if you're into that sort of thing. Check out Dead Alive. It is a gore-tastic masterpiece. All right, number 8. We're going a little bit different than Dead Alive here with one of the most classic movies of all time, Citizen Kane. Charles Foster Kane's mother made the list here. She signed away her son, Charlie, when he was just a young boy. The land that she was living in the sort of frontier country, all of a sudden hit this gold mine. This banker or investor type person shows up to basically pay for it. And in exchange, she gives him her son to grow up with him. In her mind, Kane will probably not have as many opportunities living where they are. Her husband is a little rough, and she is assuming that by living elsewhere, by giving up her son and just taking all this money, that she will provide a better life for Kane. And unfortunately, doesn't really quite work out that way. And in fact, this is the moment that sort of defines Kane as he goes along in life and he can't form any solid relationships, and it's sort of his downfall. A classic bad mother signing her son away for kind of very weak reasons, in my opinion. All right, number 7 is pretty much one of those iconic evil mother type characters. This is the evil stepmother, Lady Tremaine from Cinderella. She pretty much gave stepmothers a bad name for the rest of movie history after this point. She locks Cinderella away in the house to do menial chores all day, while she and her biological daughters, who are very spoiled brats, pretty much go out and party it up. Well, poor Cinderella, who is not her biological daughter, is stuck inside. And yeah, she's just cold-hearted. She is just mean and very uppity, and I don't think you can have a top 10 evil mother list without the Cinderella evil mother. All right, number 6 is Mama Fratelli from the Goonies. She is another bad influence on her children. She has 2 sons who she has brought into the criminal underworld, and she has a third son who, very much like Cinderella, although not as good looking, her third son, Sloth, is locked in the basement because he is unfortunately not the prettiest looking person in the world. He is a deformed boy. However, the Goonies, the young boys who go on an adventure, befriend Sloth, and basically they get their revenge on Mama Fratelli. She is a hard woman, and while she is trying to, provide for her family by getting involved in crime, clearly she is not a good influence. She's a bad mom. All right, number 5 is Tonya Harding's mom, Lavana Golden from I, Tonya, played by Allison Janney. I'm pretty sure she won an Academy Award for this role. She is fantastic, although her character is a terrible mom. Although she is sort of the main force that made Tonya Harding the Olympic champion that she was in ice skating, her sort of abusive language and literal abuse was not so great. Tonya Harding may or may not have hired people to break the kneecaps of her competition, and a lot of that sort of rough around the edges, winning at any cost mentality comes directly from her mom here. I think only Allison Janney could play a role like this and make you both hate and love her at the same time. So this one gets number 5 right in the middle of the list. All right, number 4 is Angela Lansbury playing a character very different than Mrs. Potts from Beauty and the Beast. In The Manchurian Candidate, Lansbury plays the mother to a son who is brainwashed by communists, and he is basically instructed to kill the president. However, instead of trying to stop this, she basically encourages it and allows it and is part of the brains of the operation, because if the president is killed, that gets her more power because her son's stepfather is next in line to get the presidency. So she is sort of scheming in the background. She's basically willingly turning her son into an assassin for communists. So that is why Miss Eleanor Shaw is number 4 of the worst movie mothers. All right, number 3 is Mary Jones from the movie Precious. She is Precious's mother in the movie, played by Monique, and she is truly one of the worst movie mothers of all time. She is abusive, verbally, physically. She allows Precious's father to get away with abuse as well. And pretty much she just uses her children and her grandchildren as methods to get the next welfare paycheck. That's why number 3, she really has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. All right, number 2 is Margaret White, Carrie's mother in the movie Carrie, based on the Stephen King book. And Piper Laurie plays this role so well. She is this insanely religious mother who takes things a little too far to punish her daughter Carrie, who is developing as a girl in high school. She's not telling her about her body at all, and she's like telling her that all of these changes are because she's a sinner. She locks Carrie in the closet and forces her to pray to God and all of these things. And she's basically making her poor daughter into this miserable mess that ultimately leads to the fateful moment in the school prom where, triggered by bullies going after her, she just goes crazy and uses her newfound telekinetic powers to kill everyone there. Maybe if Carrie had a better upbringing, she A, may not be bullied for being different, and B, she would just be a much happier girl, and maybe she could find a healthy outlet for her troubles. But Margaret White, she is not a good mother, so she earns the number 2 spot on the list. All right, and finally, number 1. This one is probably obvious if any of you guys think about the first horrible movie mother that comes to mind. It would probably be Joan Crawford in Mommy Dearest. Now, Joan Crawford was a real actress. She is an Academy Award winning actress, and she was very much a perfectionist, and she was very intense. And with her adopted daughter, Christina, she was also extremely abusive as well, both mentally and physically, at least according to Christina from her memoirs that came out after Joan Crawford's death. Faye Dunaway, she delivers a crazy, over the top performance, culminating in probably the most famous scene in the film, where she is absolutely going crazy, yelling at her daughter because she used wire hangers, and she just screams, "No more wire hangers in this house!" And it is one of the most intense scenes in movies that I've ever seen. A lot of people think that it's too over the top and that it strays into campy territory, and it was nominated for Razzies. I, however, unironically love this performance and this movie. I think it's terrifying. I would never, ever want a mother like Joan Crawford, and that's why it is number 1 on the list of worst movie mothers. So I hope you enjoyed learning about all these movie mothers and how bad they are, and hopefully this Mother's Day you can go to your mother and be thankful that none of them are these people. So thank you for watching. If you want to follow more of my reviews, check out my Letterboxd page. And until next time, I will see you guys later.